Hi everyone, I'm Keith Mathis. We are a premier ATP with the Project Management Institute. Welcome to 7 Minutes to PMP Mastery. Our exam tip today that we're working on is creating PMP strategies for the exam. How do you answer a question? How do you dissect that question so that you're able to come up with what the right answer is? So first off, let's look at the PMP exam strategies from this angle. PMP exam secrets from someone who is current and up to date. When you're talking to people about the PMP, you're going to find a lot of people who have the PMP. There's over a million people worldwide that have the PMP now. And many people will reflect on the test the way they took it. The problem is that the test today is not like it was when I took it in 2006. The test focused on PMBOK. The test no longer focuses on PMBOK. It focuses on material that comes directly from Project Management Institute. So when you hear people talking about the PMBOK and how you have to read the PMBOK and study the PMBOK and know all the inputs, outputs, tools, none of that is true today. None of that is true in the current exam. So you have to be very careful on who you're listening to. And so if you get online and start reading, you'll notice that a lot of people who are selling PMP boot camps out here are talking about PMBOK, the current PMBOK, and how they've changed everything. None of that matters, and you can tell they're not an ATP if that's what they're focusing on. Some key points to keep in mind for your strategy: question analysis techniques and keywords to watch for. As you go through and prep for this, you want to make sure that you break the question apart and that you're able to analyze the question, asking yourself, what is it that they're really asking me? Also, you're looking for keywords. The PMP typically uses similar keywords that you notice when you're studying for it. And so those keywords are going to be very important in making sure you get the right concept. Time management is going to be a piece of this as well. You have 87 seconds per question is what you have. And so then you have to move on. And so what you're trying to do is you want to come up with some elimination methods and educated guesses. The questions are not going to have all the information you want. It's not going to tell you everything you want to know. And it's going to be elusive, vague in so many cases. And so you've got to be able to eliminate some of these answers. You typically will have 4 answers. Sometimes you'll have more than that if they're giving you a list to choose from. But the point is that you've got to be able to spit the bones out and get rid of some of these that you know are not going along with the PMP question. Stress management and exam day preparation. You've got to be able to control your stress. You'll run across some test questions that you've never heard of before and that you don't know. And you've got to be able to contain your stress and re-engage in that test, or you'll start thinking that you're going to fail. So an actionable tip that will help you is take practice exams and analyze your weak areas. Typically in a practice exam, as you keep taking them, you'll notice that there are certain topics that you maybe are not doing as well on. So when you're prepping, go back and retake those test questions again, and go back and reread those areas that you're not doing very well on. The other part would be question analysis techniques. So question analysis techniques and keywords to watch. So here's some questions to ask yourself when you're taking the test. What are they asking? What is that test question really asking me? Where is the trick? And typically it's not necessarily a trick, but it is the clumsiness of some of the questions because they're leaving stuff out. And so what are the key words in the question? What have I missed in the question? What are they asking me? What's the trick? And you're looking to see what it is that they've asked you to make sure that you're answering what they've asked you. And this is a challenge because sometimes people will answer a process question by coming back and looking at it from a methodology standpoint, or they'll answer a domain question from with a process answer. So you want to make sure you understand exactly what it is that they're asking you. Also, time management. Since you only have 87 seconds per question, you've got to move along in this test. We have people who will fail sometimes because they have not finished the test. They have so many questions, and so they're just guessing on the last 15 questions. So read the last couple of sentences of the question first, if it's a real long question, and then answer the question in your head before you ever look at the answers, and then answer the question. Read the question one final time after you answer it, just to make sure you haven't missed anything. Now, you have to understand that some of the test taking strategies that are typically taught for college students, grad students, doesn't work for this test. And one of those is to answer everything you know and then go back and answer those questions that you've skipped. You do not want that strategy for this particular test, because at the midway break, all questions up to the midway break will be automatically submitted when you take your break. And so anything not answered is an automatic miss. So you want to go through there and take your test, answer the questions as you go along, and don't leave anything open, because if that midpoint break happens, you're not going to have time to go back and fill in an answer for everything that you've skipped. So don't skip any questions for this test. The other part would be elimination methods. There's usually one answer that does not fit the knowledge area. And so when you're reading it, you have a tendency to look at it and think, well, this is a silly answer. So you can do that. So remove that first. Throw that out of your mind. But then sometimes the question will try to confuse you and the participants by switching things between the processes, the domains, the plans, and different things like this. And so watch and make sure you understand what they're asking you. What is it that you're supposed to be bringing in? The other part of this, as you're doing this, is that you're trying to spit the bones out as you go through, and sometimes that's more difficult than other times. And so, but what you're trying to do is make sure you answer it the PMP way. Get the PMP mindset. If you answer it the way you would do it on your job, you will probably fail, because nobody does it exactly the way PMI does it on their job day in and day out. So if you go through and answer it the way you would do it, that's not going to be your best answer. Also, stress management, exam day preparation. Stress is better managed when you go into the exam prepared. So preparation is a key. So making sure that you've taken a boot camp from an ATP, which is the right material, and you've taken practice tests that are current, not practice tests that are just out on the internet. That's going to help you a great deal. Get plenty of rest before the exam date. That's going to make a difference. Eat lightly before the exam, because remember, your exam is almost 4 hours. Verify your practice exams are running around an 80% score. If you're down in the 50s in your practice exams, you're probably not going to pass the test, because that's not high enough. But if you're hitting right around the 80 mark on all your practice exams, that's going to be about right. And then go into the testing center about 60 minutes early. Most of your testing centers will ask you to check in 30 minutes early, but if you get there 60 minutes early, you've got time to get everything put into a locker. You've got time to kind of understand what's going on, and it gives you an opportunity to not be rushed right here before they take you in and seat you. So you're wanting to make sure that you get there in plenty of time. And then practice exams. Let's focus on that for just a moment. Your ATP will be giving you some practice exams, but you want to be very careful about practice exams. On the internet, there's all kinds of old practice exams that people are throwing out there, just trying to lull you in to a boot camp that's not aligned with the current test. And so they don't care, because it's a cash cow for them. So take multiple practice exams and analyze those weak areas that keep coming up. So you might have a gap in risk, and risk is not something that you do a lot in your current job. So that's fine, but you want to make sure that you know that and you study a little extra on risk. Verify the practice exam is for the newest PMP material, and stay away from exams if you're unsure if they're current, if they're not part of the current exam content objectives. And let me just tell you, most of the stuff that's out on the internet that's free has some kind of deviation from it. Some of them will go back multiple changes in the test for 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and yet people are still selling them or putting them out there because they're trying to collect your name. So be very careful on practice exams. Get it from an authorized training partner with PMI. And then as I close, if we do virtual PMP exams every other month, and if I can help you in any way or answer some questions for you, don't hesitate to send me an email. I'll be glad to talk with you a little bit, and I'll be glad to answer some of your questions, okay? So have a wonderful time. I'll see you in a boot camp, okay? Bye now. Have a good day.